Okay, short version. Hi, everybody. My name is Brian Roberts, and this is Reese Churilla. We are going to be talking to you for the next 20 minutes about our panel Retro Future, the art of remaking classic video game music. We are from the Honolulu based VGM, which stands for Video Game Music. Honolulu based VGM band called Console. We're a band that takes music from video games and repurposes it into our band, and then we perform it live to audiences and record. So this panel is about the process that we undergo selecting a song all the way through to performance. Just real quick about video game music, it didn't really start happening until about the 80s when video games had the ability to produce short repeatable loops. Most famously, I want to say Pac-Man is like one of the first instances of a video game loop. Maybe we can play it right there. Pretty repetitive. As the decades went on, hardware and software got better, and now we're in today's era where video game music is on par, if not better than Hollywood movie scores. Anyway, I'll tell you briefly about myself, and Reese will tell you briefly about himself, and then we'll get into the panel. My name is Brian. I'm from Kauai originally. I got the idea to put together a video game band in my teens. After playing in a few bands, I always kind of thought, it might be kind of cool to put a video game band together, and that was eons ago, it feels like. But I've been playing video games since I was like 3 years old, and I really like the Final Fantasy series and all those JRPGs. Reese will talk about himself now. Blah, 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 blah. Any quick questions about our origin stories? No? Okay. So let's talk about the process. This is the main thing. Okay. So you're in Console, and you want to do a song. The first thing you need to do is select the song, and this already can be a daunting task, especially when you're working with a collaborative team versus a team of employees. And it's a collaborative team. It's kind of like, well, who gets to decide what song, why that song, what's the goal of this song, what if a collaborator thinks it's a stupid choice. This dynamic can be kind of difficult to navigate. That could be its own seminar in and of itself. But even so, no matter how much strategy you put into a song at the beginning of selection, it still might be doomed to be a failed invention. And this is a frustrating part of the creative process. So some songs you might invest a lot of time in and then realize it's not a good pick. But anyway, regardless of who selects the songs, I ask myself a couple quality control questions. I ask myself, does this rock? Can I see this rocking? Is it rockable? Can this song be an asset? Is it an appropriate fit for us? Does it have any foreign value? Which means, would anybody not into this niche also find it interesting? So once we've selected a song, now it's time to get our fingers dirty with learning the song, rearranging it, and all that stuff. So the first thing we need to do is get a source track, and I usually just use YouTube for that. I source that track, I listen to it, and then from there I transcribe every piece of musical information I can find off of it. From the drums to the harmony to the counterpoint to the melody, all these fancy musical terms, which is just basically saying I fillet every piece of the beast. Almost like what we're taught in American grade school, where the Native Americans took the bison and they used every piece of it. So I do that, and I capture my findings with this software called MuseScore. So it's just a way of like keeping track of what we did. So for anybody untrained, this could seem like a very daunting task, and even people who are like semi-trained, this can still feel like a really daunting task. The work is tough, but the task is really not that bad, because I want to put something in perspective. A lot of earlier video game music is really just a file copied a whole bunch of times. These little loops. So here's a chart of a couple of examples of that. You can kind of see maybe it kind of exponentially grows as we move forward, but we'll have a chart of that up later. So it's really not that bad, I think. So once you find the overarching pattern, then you just copy paste that into infinity. So let's do some crowd participation. I want to see if the audience here has some natural music talent, and I want you to help me find some important musical elements. So the most important musical elements are where chords change, and we're going to delineate a chord change by doing a point. We'll point up like this, so that's a chord change, and then for a overarching loop, we're going to do karate chop. Okay, so chord change, chord change, chord change, loop. Okay, so something like that. So we're gonna pull up a song here real quick, and I'm gonna have you guys try this out, and we'll see how it all goes. So the song we're gonna use is the beginning of Megalovania, and I should have that track already queued up, but I don't. And again, I want you all to point up for a chord change and karate chop for a loop. So the loop, we start with the loop. So pretty much once the song starts, almost like a race, that's the start, right? So here we go. That's a chord change. Loop. Loop. Can you guys hear that? Loop. Something like that. So I'm going to have that track loop from that point for a bit, and then just kind of get people involved and see how that goes. And so I'll go, okay, great. This is an oversimplification of what I do. You know, I'm just listening for these loops and then the patterns within those loops. So we're going to queue up MuseScore so that you can kind of see the process. Keep in mind of that song that we just played, it probably repeated itself 20 times, and so you should be able to kind of recollect the musical information from that. If not, then you might not be a naturally talented musician. All these things are stuff that you can just grow anyway. So this is the MuseScore, and you can see, okay, the first process is just opening up the file. The next process is then capturing the melody or the loop or whatever, and then from there fleshing out further ideas. We got the intro line, inferred chord harmony, the structure, and then all the added elements, bass, guitar, and then the full band. So that's the first step. The second step of the process. Step 1 is selecting a song. Step 2 is deconstructing it. And then step 3 is actually, to me, where the real creativity in this form matters most. It is where we kind of reassemble it and take ideas and change them around. Rearrangement is kind of where the genius lies when covering other people's music. People like music regardless of if it's just a straight copy, but that's all that you'll ever be, is just a straight copy. There are countless artists who have taken source artists' material and reconfigured it. So most famously, I think Jimi Hendrix covering Bob Dylan's "All Along the Watchtower." Unrecognizable as Bob Dylan's song after you hear Jimi Hendrix version, and Jimi Hendrix version just takes it to the next level. The same can be said about all these other ones, in my opinion. Johnny Cash covering Nine Inch Nails' "Hurt." Israel Kamakaviva Ole covering the show tune "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." The Fugees doing the hip-hop version of "Killing Me Softly" with his song. That's originally like a 70s R&B with, I forget, Roberta Flack, I think is her name. Also in Hawaii, if you like any bit of reggae, you have not heard a cover of a other song that a local artist has taken and reggae-fied it. So with every tune that Console selects, I try to make sure that we do some sort of clever thing with it, whether that means extending sections, shrinking sections, putting a guitar solo somewhere, whatever feels right. And then that's, again, the creative genius there. Not saying that I'm that, but that's where the clever things. If I'm out of any clever ideas, I usually wait a while, but only if after a long time I have like writer's block. Then I'll go hunting through the internet trying to find other ideas. Um, but anyway, so for an example of reimagining a song, let's modify the song that we just did, Megalovania, which we transcribed it as a rock tune, but since we're in Hawaii and I like to bag on the reggae scene here all the time, let's do a quick reggae reimagination of Megalovania. So, what I'm going to need everybody to do is I need everybody to count out loud like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and everybody 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Okay, good. So we'll hold that for a second. To get a reggae feel, two main elements here. I am going to play the chords on every single moment we say the word and. So for example, I'll go like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And what Reese is going to do on the trigger drums is he's going to play the kick drum and the snare drum on every even number. So every 2 and 4. So he's going to go like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 now we do that, and if I sang the melody, because again I can't do a million things at once, we would have and there you go. We have now reimagined Megalovania, which is originally a rock tune, into like a reggae song. It's just that simple, people. It's just that simple. So, any clever names for our reggae version of Console? I came up with Consolefarian. We are now ready for Island 98.5. So, with a mock-up, also known as a first draft in tow, this is kind of the important period, is the gestation period. I present the mock-up to the band. Idealistically, they learn it on their own, but oftentimes it's not the case. So if you are interested in doing this with a team of friends or collaborators, be prepared to teach your band or your team the material. Otherwise you're going to be in for some grumpy times. Once we have it at the rehearsal room and we're all kind of playing it, this is the best shot of getting an idea of what it will really look like. So you can do a lot of this stuff on the computer and pre-recorded and all that stuff, but that still doesn't mean anything. Sometimes this gestation period of rehearsing takes a long time. Sometimes it's very short. Sometimes it can be the moment we play it, lightning strikes, and it's good. But oftentimes we'll sit with the tune for a while and have as many edits on the first draft as possible until we find something cool. Just one quick example of this. We had the Sonic song Green Hill Zone, which maybe we'll play for a second. And we were covering it, and we weren't really taking it anywhere, other than just adding like an improvised guitar solo on it. Because of which it didn't have any mojo, and it wasn't one of my favorite tunes. But until we decided to come up with this clever reggae section in the middle, then all of a sudden that made the song pop. But this gestation period was like 2 years. But anyway, when we have a new song getting worked on, we try to, it's almost like an assembly line. So we'll work on that until it starts, then the clay starts setting. And then from there, we put that into another, we just put that on our list of songs that we play. And then we begin breaking ground on a new song. And then we repeat the whole couple steps there so that we have fresh material. So once the clay has baked and we're ready to play in front of a live audience. So besides all the adult things that go into booking a gig, knowing what tunes we should play or not at what times in the set are kind of important creative decisions. Where will this new reggae Megalovania song go? Will it go at the beginning, the middle, the end, before this song, after that song? Should it be something we play every single time we play, or should it be something we play every now and then, or should it be something that we never intend to play live and only intend to record. These are all creative decisions that are important. Um, One little funny thing is that even if a tune is worked on for a while, if it's something we collectively love and believe is pretty clever, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a great hit with audiences. So while we're performing, what I can kind of do is see what kind of resonates with people, and this can be really invigorating when it hits, but can also be a little soul crushing if it doesn't, especially if you're emotionally invested in the song. I use these indicators and my own additional opinions, other people's opinions, etc., to see if we have a potential S tier song or an F tier tune on our hands. So again, even after all this work, we still don't know if we have a failed invention. I'd like to give you an example of Tetris versus Metroid Prime, so you can see kind of the difference of things hitting people and not hitting people. Playing live is one last final chance to see if it's going to be a hit or not. So usually after we play a song live or whatever, we'll end up recording, and I wish it was the very glamorous, like, oh, we posted up in a hotel for 3 months and recorded at the studio, but the industry has totally flipped, and now it's more of like you're recording in some closet and you're sending files over the internet and all this stuff. So just real briefly, usually what we do is we do like a pencil draft of all the music. So we'll all play together, record it, and then we record the final drums. So essentially we record drums first, followed by bass, followed by all the chord information, so like guitar and keyboard, and then we add the melodies on top. After we do all of that, then mixing is its own art form. That's usually what we pay professionals to do. And then once we have everything good and we're happy, we master it, which is another dark art that I don't really know too much about, but it is an important step. Once we have the final masters, then we release, and this is something that we're definitely terrible at. But we release, and yeah, so that's that. And that's the short, brief version of the panel, 20 minutes.